All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Hurley Investments Market View Commentary for uh, April 21st. I've got a ton to go over. Sorry I was gone last week. It was a travel week for me, but a lot of what I think you guys were looking for, I've got answers for you today. And unfortunately, some of you might not like my answers, but we got a lot to go over for today. I primarily want to go through some questions that have been sent to me via email, and I'll do the best I can to go over those and make sure I get them all answered. But a couple things that came up to me before I go to answering the questions was sharing with you some of where I'm at and what a day like today brings. Keith and I were on the phone, boy, hour and a half before the market opened. We were crunching numbers. Do we have a bottom? I have to admit, when the market's down 3.5% at one point today, but only finished down 2.31, that gives us, I'm not going to say hope because that's not the word to use. And yes, the market actually is down 2.36. Thank you. But the market wants to find the bottom. And unfortunately, as I made the comment, we're probably going to go back down and test those lows a second time, which means the market will fall back down to over 21.3% down from its highs. Most of the time, markets will do a test. They'll do a test, they'll do a double bottom, and then they'll start moving back up. But that also is going to be based on some kind of news. Right now, this is an out of control and looks really bad market for the foreseeable future. This would be our definition of market sentiment. And to be honest with you, there's not a huge way to disclose, hey, here's how the market's going to turn. To be honest with you, I'm going to talk about level heads. It's going to be time for Trump to fire some people within his cabinet. You can't have Navarro going to town against Musk and Musk going against Navarro. You can't have Trump having issues with Jerome Powell. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we already know that most of the time, the rate cuts and the rate raises are a day late and a dollar short. We know that. That is the way that those institutions, for the most part, are set up. And to have, again, Kennedy fighting against the gal again, it's just ridiculous. Where are the level heads right now that are needed? Because personally, I can't find them anywhere. And my market hero, Warren Buffett, had an article out today that basically said the same thing. That's calling people out saying, hey, level heads need to be sought right now. That's how we should be looking at things. There are so many opportunities. Mathematically speaking, we have huge upside potential in a lot of where we are in. But the honest truth, and if anyone says that they know, there are so many opportunities, but we have no idea when things are coming back. It's not there. Now, someone asked about foreign money. I'm going to hit that one down later. But no idea when things are going to come back. So here's the feeling on the inside. To be 100% honest with you, I'm ticked off. I'm frustrated because this is a self-imposed, it, it really is self-imposed upon us. What I don't feel, well, what I feel inside is this: frustrated. Frustrated because it's self-imposed. Frustrated because our numbers could give us a huge upside opportunity. Part of me wants to tell you, I knew it would happen. To create a fairer trade deals, I knew it was going to happen. And to the certain degree, it's really interesting because to a certain degree, part of me was thinking, hey, Trump's not doing the bickering or the name calling like he was before. He's gotten better. And then we go through something like today and it's like, nope, it's the same old Trump. It's the same old Trump. But if you followed the market or if you followed politics in the last 8 years, you knew at some point this was going to happen. If you didn't, then your head's been in the sand for the last 8 years. Most of us have not liked some trade imbalance. Most of us have not liked how the United States maybe is treated unfairly. But we've also overlooked it because we were getting cheap labor. And let's face it, most people are cheap. We're not willing to spend a little extra for better quality. We're willing to spend a little bit less for something that doesn't work very well. I'm going to use the Walmart brand jeans. For a couple of years, I was buying them because let's face it, they're $19, $19.99. I do a lot of stuff with the cows, with cutting down trees. I looked good in the jeans for about 3 months. In 3 months, they would fall apart. If I spent $50 for a pair of Levi's or Wranglers, I could get 2 to 3 years out of those jeans. Let's face it, part of the problem is us. Part of the problem is we want cheap crap. Part of the problem is we have a generation that hasn't been taught how to work. Do we really want to construct iPhones over here? Probably not. With the unions and in some states, California with a $16.50 minimum wage, it's ridiculous. Not going to happen. We don't have the work ethic anymore either in the country. But let's face it, if you followed politics for the last 8 years, we knew something like this would happen. I'm slightly excited. I'm slightly excited because I've seen us go through this in 2020. I've seen us go through this in 2018, 16, 10, and 2008. I somewhat went through it in 2000. But in plain English, I'm slightly excited because I can count through my investing career 5 to 6 times I've seen the other end of what we go through. But when you're in the trough, hopefully more towards the bottom of the trough, it would not surprise me if we went down 30% or 35%. It's rough. It truly is rough. One of the biggest things that I'm ticked off about, or my frustration, billionaires weather the storms really easy. Oh, Kevin, they lose hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. I guarantee you a billionaire has some money set aside and it's super easy to weather a storm because they're going to be taken care of. I think it's much harder for the middle class. That's where I put myself in. I think it's much harder for the middle class. 6 teenagers, a traumatic brain injury son, bills up the wazoo. It's significantly harder for the middle class to weather these storms. It's tough because it would suck to sell my place off. It would be great to capture all the profit in it. It'd be great to wait a couple of years and go buy acreage up in Idaho next to a river or a lake so that if global warming happens, I'm covered, I'm good. But the frustration is, again, the elites, those that are senators, and I'm not going to say so much in the House, but you do see it in the House, presidents, they're out of touch with real life. They're out of touch in a way that makes it super difficult for them to understand what we go through and why. With that said, we started protecting on the one up day last week. We knew we had earnings coming up. Today was not as rough a day as the market gave us. Today was actually a somewhat easier day to sit through. And that's partially because we were already protected from things that we've held on to when we were uncertain when to take them off, and because we had positions in play before today even hit. Not to mention we had short positions. You'll notice we do have some position 100% fully collared for this week and going into next week. We learned a couple things last week, and this is a learning experience for those that are trading options. So I'm going to call out some names: Bill Brandner, Russ Stewart, both David and Dave. These are Rich. I see Rich here today. These are some things to learn about options expiration. If I was to ask you, when does an option expire? When do options expire? Why don't you guys go ahead and give me a couple comments there? The date you set, that is true, but I'm looking for a little bit more than that. Give me the day. What day do options expire? Friday. Perfect. Usually it's a Friday. Can't spell. Fridays. That's when options expire. Now, next question. Options are exercised by what price? I know that's kind of vague. Options are exercised by what price? What price are options at? There you go. Closing price on Friday. That is correct. But when is your final closing price on Friday? When is your closing price on Friday? Ooh, Bill says 3 p.m. So it's funny because, but markets trade after hours. Most brokerages close 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So your true closing price is Friday after the market closes, after hours trading. And it's that final 8 p.m. price that is used Saturday to settle options. A lot of people ask me, hey, there's still 30, 40. There were $2 on Tesla options last Thursday when the market closed. People call me, what's going on? I'm like, well, I'm not really sure. Called my brokerage, called Apex, called the Morgan Stanley brokerage. Finally got my call from my Goldman Sachs guy. Boy, did he chew me out. Geez, Kevin, 18 years, you should know this. What day do options expire? Friday. He's like, oh, what day is it today, Kevin? I said, Thursday. But the market's closed tomorrow. He goes, Kevin, show me where in the fine print it said they close on Thursday, because you just told me they close on Friday. But it's a holiday. Who gives a flying flip? Oh, got it. Kevin, on Friday, what time do options expire? I said, hey, for me, it's 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. 5 cents one way or the other, boom. It closes, expires worthless, you're good to go. Once again, Goldman Sachs. Billy. Wrong, Kevin. It's the closing price on Friday. And that happens at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Friday night. That's not fair, because your long side might expire. That's not fair, because you can't trade the options. That's not fair. And very politely, my buddy said, Kevin, who the hell told you that life was fair or the stock market was fair? These are the rules. Even if it's a holiday on Friday, your options still expire on Friday, which is why there could be a bunch of credit left in it on Thursday. Kevin, it's the closing price on Friday. You've been trading in the market 30 plus years to know that after hours trades happen every single day. And the after hour trading ends at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kevin, you've been in this long enough to know if you don't close out your trade and take the profit, you run the risk of aftermarket news affecting your positions, where you are unable to trade options. You can buy shares of stock and cover yourself that way, but that's the risk you take when you trade options. Kevin, it's always better to understand that when your options are settled, it's the closing price at 8 p.m. on Friday, and that settlement will occur on Saturday. I'll be honest with you, that one kind of caught me. And someone just asked, who trades after hours? Almost anyone can trade after hours, but for the most part, when we have big movements or worries, it's institutional traders. Institutional traders who are caught up with block orders that don't get filled. Now, it happens both ways. We noticed a block order go in at like 203 on NVIDIA, back up at 109. The following day, it opened up at 100. And boy, I mean, it was like a $120 million order that lost 10% overnight. So it's not like they're getting the best of both worlds either. It happens both ways. Okay, someone asked me, Kevin, where is the bottom? Well, if I had a crystal ball, I would tell you and we would be doing it. But I made the comment a couple weeks ago, we probably have to test the 4,900 level. It could be down here even lower intraday. We could be down closer to 4,800 and what? 4,821 was the intraday low. Rarely, if ever, do you have a V-shape recovery. You have to test those lows. So, if you were to ask me, our near-term bottom, 48.21. It's interesting because a couple of you I've been texting, and I've gotten a couple, why haven't you added SPY puts? Why haven't you sprinkled more in? Why haven't you moved some positions to cash? It's funny because we went through this this morning, and my comment, and Dave, if I can use it for you, why didn't you tell me before? It's really easy to Monday morning quarterback. Dave, why haven't you told me before? And to put it in writing, I'm a registered investment advisor, which means you always have input on your money. The simple answer, Dave, to be honest with you, it was easier to see the writing on the wall in 2008. The numbers were easier to put together. This is a cluster. As you try to work the numbers, it doesn't make sense because there's so much uncertainty. And right now, my biggest concern, if I went back up to what I'm thinking, here's my biggest concern. If we have 75 countries coming to the table. Why hasn't there been any progress or announcements? Of trade deals? Why aren't we hearing about these successes? We're going to add more shares and take profits. 4,800. S&P 500. And then I will reset everything again. That doesn't mean that's going to be the bottom. We could have lower lows. It could be down at 4,500 on the S&P. But the protection that's on, it's not a percentage return or a profit. The protection that's on is to protect stock ownership. Yes, we had the third largest day in the market, and we also had the third biggest one-day drop in the market. Yes, we did reset some things at higher numbers, added some shares on some things. Again, just because I put it in writing doesn't mean we're going to do it. It might be on really bad news. We're going to wait a day. Stocks fall much faster than they recover. Someone asked, hey, they're not giving guidance. Well, some companies are giving guidance. They're reaffirming yearly guidance. They're not necessarily giving next quarter guidance. Is that fair for them to be punished? Again, probably not. Probably not. But again, the market's not about being fair. The market's a process of movement up and down. We take puts, we add more shares, we're in it for the long term. Tesla. Earnings should suck, and it will probably go down even more. I don't know why anybody right now would think Tesla is at a bottom. I don't know why anyone is looking at technicals and saying, oh, Kevin, it's at a triple bottom. It was oversold and it bounced higher. It's it's Williams percent R is just touching oversold. Well, it has a death cross. All the numbers say Tesla's numbers are not going to be good. For those of you that are buying at the triple bottom between 225 and 250, I don't see what you see. There's your triple bottom. And it's still back down for a fourth time. Any numbers from sales to materials to construction to tariffs. Well, Kevin, in the United States, we make our Teslas here. I get it. But the growth for Tesla has not been in the United States, it's been in China. Why anyone spent $260 on more shares of Tesla? You're not working any numbers. You're hoping something comes out better. Yes, I know. They're down from 475, 480. They've lost over half their value. I get it. It'll probably lose 80% of the highs from last year in December. Give me a number. Give me something that justifies why you'd go all in at Tesla at 260 right now. Because I can't calculate it, and neither can you. Someone sent me this email. What you're not hearing, China can't replace the US market. In fact, it's funny because someone sent me this email, and the reality is it's mostly true. Chinese miracle playbook, open market to the West, offer dirt cheap labor, ignore safety standards, let Western companies rake in profits. 100% true. Massive miscalculation. Beijing thought the American leaders that they made rich would protect them for forever. I don't know. I know China's moved a bunch of money over here. U.S. exports to China, 1.43.5 billion. We purchase 438.9 billion, and that's down. We were purchasing over 600 billion at one time. Yes, they flood our markets. Yes, their markets are restricted. Chinese exporters are panicking, abandoning shipments mid-voyage. That is true, but it's not abandoning. They're just rerouting. Factory orders are frozen. Yes, there are on some. But to blanket the whole country that they're frozen, not accurate. Container volume down 90%. That again is not accurate. It hasn't been enough time for that to happen. Reports flooding, factories are shutting down, Amazon's canceling orders, stores closing, warehouses overflowing. There's no data that factories are shutting down. Yes, Amazon's canceled orders. There's no data that says stores are closing over there. There's no data that warehouses are overflowing there. In fact, it actually is quite the opposite for those three. Well, Kevin, how do you trust Chinese numbers? Well, we've trusted it when we liked it. You can't not trust it when you don't like it. Here's the big number. And this goes back to someone earlier. In real life, countries are not dumping our treasuries. China dumped 100 billion of our treasuries. It moved the needle almost 0.25% on the treasury interest rate. And that is a really bad sign that they need US dollars that bad. Kevin, it's a tit for tat. They're trying to get back at us. Well, a tit for tat, you can double leverage and triple leverage treasuries for loans. You can't double and triple leverage US dollars for loans. So for those of you that think, hey, they're dumping our treasuries, you haven't looked at the numbers. Show me the numbers. Where do I get my information from? Department of Commerce, United States Securities and Exchange. I watch them like a hawk. I watch secondary level 2 trading. I watch level 3 trading. I bet you didn't know you could level 2 and 3 trade treasuries. That's what institutions do. Level 2 trading is block trading. Level 3 is leverage, quote unquote, black market, black box trading. I Yeah, it's black box trading, right? You can still see the numbers. For those of you that send Ron Martins, the founder of CEO Martin Capital, it was an interesting email. Somewhat factual, somewhat not factual, somewhat frustrated. I would say this is what someone does when they're losing a bunch of their business. Instead of saying, just hold on and wait, you've got to justify it. From someone that's maybe not protecting or doesn't know how to protect, where they think a 60-40 is protection, everything gets hammered. So for those that gave me this email for founder CEO Martin Capital, again, there's just enough truth to justify why Martin Capital is down about 27% year to date on a 60-40. I know it's tough to figure out what to believe. Problems with sentimental markets. I do like the fact that thebriefing.com listened to my webinar 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's been some chatter that the S&P is apt to retest that low at some point. And that market participants will be looking for confirmation where the low is based on how it responds to the retest. Someone paid attention to us 2 or 3 weeks ago. But what it comes down to, how quickly will trade agreements go into place, and how quickly will China come to the table? Trump told us 3 to 4 weeks. Kevin, you can't trust anything Trump says. Trump also told us now is a good time to buy stocks. Totally. If he was registered, licensed, bonded, and insured, that was market manipulation. He manipulated the market. Well, that son of a bitch. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. His stuff is mostly in a blind trust. It's not all in a blind trust. So yes, he did market manipulate part of what he has in the market. It's all coming back down. That doesn't make it right. But I will say the market manipulation was probably not for his gain. It was probably thinking he was telling people, hey, relax. At the end, this is going to be okay. Why would I say that? Well, because he doesn't work on a $165,000 salary. He works on a $500,000 salary that he donates back to the country. On a $165,000 salary, he's not worth tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Am I picking on Democrats? No. I'm picking on senators, whether they're Republican or Democrats, House of Representatives, Democrats, Republicans, Tea Party. If on $165,000 after a term or two, you're worth millions of dollars, you are insider trading. I would hope they would go to jail, because I would. All right. Let me go through. I've just got bunches of information. Obviously, everything is bearish. This week, earnings start. It's the second week for airlines. We're going to start getting into the Mag 7 this week. For us, we have Boeing, GEV, Verizon, Lockheed Martin, Halliburton, GE, Google on Thursday. We have a very slight week of economic reports. It really comes down to sentiment. We're a news-driven market. Durable goods should move the market. It probably won't. Fed Beige Book will probably could move the market. It probably won't. I have tons of information. It's almost 2 weeks. Since last week was my travel week, I had some things. In fact, I could have 5 times this amount, but most of them, the numbers aren't adding up. I put Warren Buffett's Extreme Behavior in Markets in here today just to see what my idol is telling people to do. Again, easier said to do when you have billions of dollars. The news that came out today, Trump ramps up attacks on Powell. Stupid. Name calling, trying to say he's going to be fired. We already know, and it's in the best interest of the country to be a little bit slow and a little bit late on both raising and lowering interest rates. Dang it. If you know this, chill the hell out. Biggest questions facing big tech ahead of earnings. Very interesting article on how each of the Mag 7, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Google, Tesla, and Apple. Very interesting article on the risks for each one. This is important to verify these numbers, to see the company reported only 337,000 vehicles. And Tesla's own numbers are less than that. They're 312, like 800. A very interesting article to show where the risk is in all of the Mag 7s. Elon Musk ratcheted up the attacks on Navarro. Another great example of where you have too many cooks in the kitchen. One of the problems with having people that can't be bought out, quote unquote, they're out of touch with reality. Both sides of the fence. Trump is sharing credibility with allies while China benefits. I almost didn't put this one in here, but it's correct. Just like Trump is losing right now, consumer confidence on our side, his approval rating is the lowest it's ever been, previously and in this one. Here's the truth. Here's the truth that's a little hard to take. Trade war filed, cancellation of Chinese freight ships begin bookings as they plummet. Some of them were rerouted, but I could verify these through ports. And the port numbers are definitely going down significantly. I'm going to make a couple comments here. I pulled a couple reports from Utah, and pretty neat because I've got a friend that developed the Mayband. She created I don't know, probably a $500,000 business. I'm not sure what her profit is, but she created these bands so that women that are pregnant can attach them to their pants and still wear their pants when their bellies are extended with the big babies, right? Her question out to the media, and kind of neat that she was able to reach out. Kevin, do I put an order in knowing that it could be twice as expensive as I have to pay shipping costs? And I usually buy 3 months out in time. What would you do? Well, I'd put the order in. Why? Because in 3 to 4 months, we might be through all this. Because if you don't put the order in, then you won't have enough money to fill your orders. If you don't have the orders or the product, then you can't raise your prices. If you don't have the orders, then you can't have it eat into some of your profits. You don't go out of business when things get hard. You find a way around them. Well, how do I start? You start by going to your Department of Commerce. They have an export commerce department that you can start to work with to find, and she made the comment, you know, Vietnam, Indonesia, I don't know. But you go to those departments to start to look for alternative ways to do it. Kevin, what if it eats half my profits? Then for a quarter, it eats half your profits. You're still profitable and you find a way to fix it. It's kind of neat because right now, again, you notice I'm a Goldman Sachs fan. Goldman Sachs has a $100 million program, which is truly closer to 75 million, that it's looking to do small business loans for Utah. One of the main offices here is trying to help these small businesses basically stay afloat. And it's pretty neat because this is an opportunity for my state through Goldman Sachs to find workarounds or have the capital that it's going to take to find new trading partners. And it's interesting because when I talked to the Maybound gal, there's an opportunity to get a better product for cheaper with better material, but it takes the effort. Here locally, immigrants are receiving letters to leave the country when they're here legally. This is a problem. Homeland Security is definitely using dub letters as a scare tactic. Yes, there is a GoFundMe that that's doing very good to help out these people, but pretty frustrating once again to see some government inefficiencies. And with all due respect, this goes back to the previous administration. There are some government inefficiencies that things are not updated correctly. Yes, I'm going to make that comment in a minute. I'll just say it now. Yes, Biden, to protect U.S. chips, was allowing the H20 chips to have a license to purchase them so they could track how many NVIDIA chips go over to China that can be used for weaponization. And then, yes, they put a little extra budget at the end that totally screws NVIDIA to the tune of like $5.5 billion for the next quarter. Did Trump look like an idiot? Hey, come to my office. Yes. You're going to invest $500 billion so you make your chips here in Texas. Awesome. 2 days later, oh yeah, by the way, because you haven't bought the licenses to sell these chips, boom, we're going to tag you with a $5.5 billion licensing fee. So we can keep track of who you're sending your chips to that might use them to weaponize, obviously, weaponize artillery against us. They offered $500 billion to set up production here. And 2 days later, we tag them with a $5.5 billion licensing fee. Where's Trump's executive order to crush that? Hasn't come yet. The last one, I already mentioned that one. I did that one there twice. Did that one twice. Last one, real numbers. What a confusing article it is. But yes, the short answer, 21 billion in total revenue has been taken in since these executive orders. It's about $1.4 billion each day, so he's upside down by $600 million on what he's saying. We are not taking $2 billion per day in tariffs. And in all honesty, numbers are going lower, especially as ships are getting rerouted. So with all due respect, and it's a complicated article, no, we're not taking $2 billion in a day. Government states with their own website it's closer to $1.4 billion. Those numbers will probably continue to go down as well as different countries put things on pause or on hold. And that's going to be, the real facts. I love that we've taken in $21 billion. It's interesting because the United States has paid out almost double that in this quarter, and they shouldn't have. That's way high. Our payout for our estimated payout, actually, because it's reported by companies, is about $40 billion for the year. But I'm putting this out here because it's something that obviously we need to understand what the real numbers are. And for those of you that are still hooked on NVIDIA, yeah, I did find this article. Yes, the current pricing and the high forecast, average forecast, the numbers are correct. It's just, again, though, to think that this is a buying opportunity for NVIDIA because it's this low. And yes, there is 50% upside to the high side. What would I say? Low tide sink all ships. So the premise, the theory behind this is excellent. The numbers are in line and legit. Will it happen in the near future? In theory. But yes, I'm giving you NVIDIA lovers something to look at so you can work your own numbers. China gets solved in 3 or 4 weeks? Yes. I don't see China being solved until probably until the middle of the summer. If it does, this could be a year-long issue. With that said, I tried to answer all your questions. I appreciate all of you jumping in with your comments to me through the last 2 weeks. Any questions you guys would like to ask me right now? Do I still like Meta? So I want you to read that article. Meta is the least affected Mag 7 stock from both tariffs and trade wars. It's the least affected. Meta will be the one that'll come back the quickest. If you noticed on the big bump up day, it was second only to, well, dollar figure was the biggest, but it was second as a percentage basis. I can't remember the one that was higher than Meta. But we have a good earnings from Meta. Again, we try to push out and put some new positions in when Meta was down closer to 550. So Meta is the Mag 7 stock least affected by tariffs and trade wars. I know, I can't remember who talked to me about it. What about Microsoft? Because Microsoft also sells more to the US, but Microsoft also sells internationally. Their operating system is really an international program. So it's my belief, because Meta is more for the US businesses. It's for US trading. It's for the consumers to buy stuff off of it. It's yes, it's their 3D, but their 3D goggles don't come close to anything close to where where Apple's trading with their 3D goggles. I'm all in on Meta still until proven otherwise. So any other questions? I'm going to do the best I can to work with Dave to get this posted tonight. Please do click through and read through the articles. Yes, I am attempting to stall so that any other questions come in, I can bring them in. Okay, so that's another good question. Are you going to run full collar trades? And really, to understand, a collar trade has the long put and the short call. If it's not a full collar trade, it's just a protective put strategy. So am I looking to run full collar trades on some of our earnings events that are coming up? Yes, there's some numbers like for Apple that it would be foolish not to run a full collar trade on Apple. If you're in Tesla, you should definitely run a full collar trade on Tesla. Boeing, full collar trade on Boeing. GE and GEV, I almost want to tell you, you don't run anything on those ones just yet. I wouldn't even run protective puts on any of those. Disney, I would not do a collar on. Baidu, I would not do a collar on. Ford, full collar trade, no questions asked. Let me run through a couple of these really quickly. No full collar trade on Verizon. Lockheed Martin, I would just do a protective put. Micron full collar trade, NVIDIA full collar trade, Target full collar trade, Under Armour full collar trade, Visa full collar, Verizon just a protective put. Walmart did so good on their earnings and has moved up. It would be really smart for Walmart that we're going to move those positions up. I'm a little slow, so you can call me, you know, the Fed chair for all intents and purposes. Walmart, should have moved it up at closer to 95, but Walmart, I would do a full collar trade. One, because you can protect profits from where we got in up at 92, and probably run 3 months out $100 short call. And XYZ, I would just do a protective put on that one. All right, no other questions have come in. I hope this has been helpful for you. Maud, won't forget, thank you for the reminder. And guys, let's look forward to, how do I say this? Let's look forward to finding the trough in this business cycle. Let's look forward to seeing the trough in the movement of these stocks. And really, let's look forward to finding a trough where we get some real numbers that come in that tell us, hey, we've got some trade balances coming up or not. And yes, for the Walmart, I said closer to 95. Yes, I know. I think it only got to what, 94 or 93, 91, maybe 93, 97. I just know I was hoping to be able to protect it closer to 95 if it just moved a little bit higher. So that's why I'm saying that, David. All right, guys. Hey, have a wonderful evening. I'll get this posted tonight. Look forward to seeing you next week. And again, all of you, please don't hesitate. Send an email to khurley at hurleyinvestments.com. I think I did a pretty good job of getting all those questions asked. And again, I'm sorry last week was a travel week, but I will do the best I can on answering those questions as things come up. Appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye.